welcome to Experience This episode 17. I'm Christian Watts with Magpie Travel.
I'm Lori Timoney with Virgin Experience Gifts.
Welcome, everyone. Great to have you here on show 17. I'm Bruce Rosard, one of the co-founders of Rival.
And I'm Rachel Dickey, Chief Strategy Officer at TripShock.
Excellent. Thanks for joining, Rachel. We are going to do a news roundup today. So we're going to look at some of the stuff that's been happening in the last week or two, or the last day or two, maybe, and have a discussion around it. So I think we should start with the Airbnb Experiences announcement from a few days ago. So I think there's been a bit of drama around it. They actually announced that they're not onboarding new product. They didn't announce that they're canceling the program altogether. I've read some comments that they're actually going to revamp it. A lot of people think they're going to cancel it, but it's quite a big difference from, I think Brian Chesky, the CEO, has been saying for a long time that the future is experiences. It seemed like right when COVID kicked in, that was going to be their main focus. I think we'd all understand it, that they went back to homes and really doubled down on homes during COVID because that went so well for a couple of years there. So they kind of put experiences on the back seat. But what's next? They haven't had good success with experiences. Are they going to revamp, make a success out of it? Are they just going to cancel it? What's next? What went wrong? What went right? What should they do? I'm sure there's some opinions around here.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, they really, number one, very, very niche, right? Really interesting experiences, but super niche. So all, pretty much handled by the host or, locals in the community, very, very small groups. I don't think that connectivity was at all a part of the equation. So everything more than likely being done manually, and probably very hard to manage, I would imagine. I'd really like to see them make a go of it again with, maybe a better plan, because I really think that there is an opportunity for them there. People who are in an Airbnb, oftentimes they want to do unique kind of niche experiences. They're not just looking for a trip to, the local aquarium. They're looking for something that's going to give them more of a sense of the community of where they're staying. So I hope that they can make it in the long run.
Yeah, and I have a lot of opinion on this. I actually have done quite a bit of research specifically to create an opinion piece, which might get published sometime very soon. But before I talk about my opinion, I'd love to hear yours, Rachel. As an OTA, you're a niche OTA yourself at TripShock. What's your opinion about Airbnb experiences overall? What they're doing right now is, not shutting down, because you can still book an Airbnb experience, just not taking new product. Where do you think they fit in our industry?
I think that first of all, the reality is that managing experiences is difficult, right? And we're seeing that. And that's the very reason why these niche OTAs are coming up, because we find that different segments between, different types of experiences, they all operate in different ways. They book customers in different ways. They schedule in different ways. And so when you try to be everything to everyone, it can be hard. And there are only a few companies that, are able to do that well. And I think that they kind of expanded beyond this initial idea of, maybe it's not for, big tour companies and activity companies, but locals creating very, kind of down home, unique experiences. And then it went well beyond that. So what I think the interesting question for me is, will they get into the business of, partnering with other OTAs or other, distributors to offer product, or will they make a total shift and leave it to the hosts to create affiliate relationships of their own? Because that is a possibility. Even if Airbnb directly isn't, involved in selling those experiences, there are lots of opportunities for hosts to partner with companies like ours, become an affiliate, put a QR code in the unit, and still be able to monetize off that. So, where's the money going to flow? To the host or to Airbnb, through offering experiences? But I think that, coming back to how difficult it is to manage these types of products, if they do get back in the game, really focusing in on something specific, I think would, benefit them.
That's interesting. Especially with the hosts doing something. I don't know if the hosts of a property, the vacation part of what they do from a lodging perspective is the same experience as host. I think for the most part, they're different, right?
It
Right.
was supposed to be, originally that was the intention of Airbnb, was to have the host take you and do goat yoga.
The hosts themselves.
That was the intention.
Right. And then it kind of went, beyond that. And yes, I mean, it does take a separate account now, I believe, to be able to offer experiences. But I guess what I'm referring to is not the host offering experiences, but partnering, with, for example, a company like ours to sell our experiences and have a totally separate way of monetizing their units and their guests from Airbnb.
Well, nothing would stop them, right? So if I
Right.
own a vacation property in Destin or anywhere in Florida, and I say I want to, make a commission on any kind of water sports in my area, I mean, why wouldn't I talk to you at Trip Shock and go ahead and make some revenue and, promote water sports in my condo in Florida? I mean, I could do that today, right? Why wouldn't I? Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine though that, if Airbnb is selling experiences, that's definitely going to be a conflict for them if they've got hosts that are working with, companies like yours, or even selling, any particular experience. I mean, I've been in Airbnbs where people are very organized and they have sort of the catalog of things to do and they make recommendations. And most of the time I don't get the sense that they're making money off of that, but they could be, right, for making recommendations. But most of the time, unless it says, tell them we sent you or whatever, they're never going to know that.
Right. Yeah.
That's how you found out about it. But
it could
yeah.
be. It could be. But I'd love to give you my feedback if I
Complain
could.
about Laurie's comment for me.
What's that?
I want to complain about Laurie's initial comment.
Please do.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like she's being paid off by Airbnb's PR team or something, but for me, this is where they went wrong, right? They think they're very special. They think their Airbnb guests are very different, and because they're staying in an Airbnb, they have to do all this local stuff. I think Airbnb is mainstream now, and there's a lot of mainstream travelers. It's just an alternative to a hotel, and I think that's where they went wrong. The last time I looked at Airbnb experiences was for IPW last year in Orlando, of all places. And I swear to you, there was 8 products, and 4 of them involved either baby goats or bunny rabbits. And there was nothing.
You're making that shit up. That's
no, I'm not making it up. I posted that on LinkedIn. That was like 4 of the 8. That's what they were trying to sell me. I mean, you don't have to sell Disney, but there's some more mainstream products. Not everyone wants to go to Orlando to do goat yoga.
Yeah,
There's
but
a middle ground.
I did not, what I was referring to was not necessarily that, you want to go to Orlando and do goat yoga. What I'm suggesting is that there's an opportunity for them to sell something that is curated and not necessarily a plug and play with, whomever, get your guide or whatever. Of course, Airbnb is very mainstream now, but it still offers unique opportunities and accommodations that you don't find in other places. And I'm not saying every single experience needs to be super unique, but I do think having a curated portfolio is interesting and appealing. And it's nice to have something that isn't just Viator. So, I think you read me wrong on that. And while I can imagine that you might want to do goat yoga somewhere, I'm not suggesting that everyone does.
Well, I talked to a number of operators about this, which was really, really interesting to get their opinion. I read all the comments out there, including yours, Christian, to try to create what the industry thinks of this. But I want to start at the beginning. 2016, Airbnb Experiences was born. In our industry in 2016, it was called Tours and Activities, right? That was the name of this industry that we had. They were the first one to use the word experiences. It's really important, I believe, to our industry to have Airbnb be part of it. because they have the best, or one of the best brands in travel in the world. And if they're doing Airbnb experiences, it's good for our industry. Brings all boats up. So I think we should keep that in mind, that if Airbnb experiences decides to close down tomorrow, fine, but it will have an impact on experiences as an industry, I believe. So they came out, and I want to do just this really quick comparison to lodging. Lodging, they came out, it was rent a room in someone else's house. Super basic, that's what they were doing. I think that's comparable to where they are with experiences today. Get this strange experience that an experience provider can give you. Not today, I'm sorry, when they launched. The next thing they did on lodging was they decided to connect to property managers, and they had connectivity, and they said, you know what, we're not just going to do share a room. Let's actually share a room or rent a whole house for a condo, etc. The comparable on the experiences side is, you know what, if you're a tour operator, you can get around our rule of only one person per experience by having co-hosts. And you can be a tourcompany.com and still offer an Airbnb experience. And you do that by creating this thing called co-hosts, if you're all familiar with that. So that got rid of that problem of, I'm not just Bruce, I'm Bruce's Bicycle Tours, and I have 5 guides. And can I list on Airbnb? Today I can. Then they have this rule that still is a rule, from my understanding, is everyone on your tour has to be an Airbnb customer. We don't want to mix with other customers. My understanding is that's still a rule, but no one pays attention to it. So they got rid of that kind of whoop. Okay. I was like, what's going on? You're sharing screen.
No, carry on, Bruce. I just want to prove
me wrong.
I saw in Orlando.
Okay. So that's where they got to, and that's kind of where they are, but they have not gotten to that connectivity point. And you talk about maybe we connect with another OTA, like a Get Your Guide, or even a Trip Shock, etc. But it's really, in my mind, connect to ResTech, because if I am providing an experience, even if I'm just a one-man band, I need some connectivity so I can manage my calendar with Airbnb using technology. Right now, they don't have any kind of tech to manage a calendar. And if I am managing just the Airbnb calendar, it's not connected. I work with Viator, Trip Shock, Get Your Guide. I have to manage my calendar separately using my tech. So they have to connect to tech. That's what I heard from every single operator that works with them is, please come back when you do come back and give us a way through an API to connect to Airbnb with our reservation technology. And that's what they have done on the lodging side. Done 100%. Like most of the lodging, not most, but a lot of the lodging, probably the majority, is available through connectivity with a property manager, through a channel manager. And then one last thing, Christian, sorry, is they acquired Hotel Tonight. So they also said, you know what, we are in the hospitality business. We will offer hotels. And that's where it's like, well, why aren't they offering attractions and attraction tickets so that when I go to Orlando, I can, go to Universal or Orlando or Disney, because that's what I want to do. My family wants to do for 3 of the 7 days. And then 1 or 2 days, I could do something off the beaten path and more of an Airbnb type experience. They invested in tickets, which is one of the leading OTAs for attractions. And that's, are they doing with anything with that? Not today, but will they do something with that? Like they acquired Hotel Tonight. I think that's another big maybe, and should be, when they quote unquote kind of come back. If that's what they're doing, is they're just taking a step back and reevaluate what they're going to do. So have iconic attractions, connect to tour operators or individual guides, and throw it out there again and take advantage of their brand of Airbnb experiences. And hopefully they do that and they remain an important player in our industry.
Yeah, I agree with that. The photo I just showed for those not watching, it was goat yoga and kayaking with a bunny rabbit. I don't know who came up with that. It actually looks kind of fun.
Kayaking with a bunny rabbit?
With a bunny rabbit. That's the product.
I don't understand this obsession people have lately with, goats and bunny rabbits and cats, and what is going on? I just don't get it. It's paddle boarding with a cat. I mean,
That's a
don't know.
different show.
Anyway, maybe
what I
we
was
should
going to
go
say
on
is,
to another subject, Chris.
You know, on the
Yeah.
first arrival,
I-
we had a speaker. She was awesome. She did yoga on a paddleboard, was one of her activities, and swimming with the sharks. She was based in Hawaii, and that was interesting. So sharks instead of cats and rabbits, but
that's genuine. But back to your point, Bruce. I think they thought they sat on stage. Airbnb sat on stage at arrival, maybe the first arrival, and I was on like row 2, and they said, "Listen, not everyone wants to go to San Francisco and ride across the Golden Gate Bridge on a double-decker bus." And I'm sitting there thinking, actually, 99% of people do want to do that, and no one's doing your goat yoga right now in Outer Mission in San Francisco. And I think they thought because they were Airbnb, they could just announce experiences and have no connectivity, and everyone will just run to them and do whatever they need to do to get on Airbnb. And I think they realize it's not that easy. Suppliers aren't going to jump through hoops to offer their products if they make it difficult. And because they didn't build any connectivity in, they made it a hassle for everyone to connect to them.
Well, and I think, you know, a lot of things have changed since 2016, right? Tour operators have changed. The whole nature of the industry. People are much more, you know, advanced, I think, in the way that they're distributing their products. And so let's say you have a scenario where Airbnb says, we're going to keep it very small, these unique types of experiences. Well, what's going to happen is somebody's going to start on Airbnb. They're going to realize they've got something, and then they're going to want to distribute it through multiple channels. And next thing you know, they're on all the OTAs because they understand how to grow the business, how to leverage these different distribution channels. And so, you know, if you want to stay limited to a very specific type of thing that is unique to Airbnb, that's going to be hard because people are entrepreneurial, particularly in this space. And, you know, we're seeing it over and over again. People that make a great model in one city, then they're replicating it across the country. Something very simple that started as a unique local experience like we're talking about. But the opportunities for those types of things and to scale them are you know, substantial now. So I think it would be hard to stay, you know, to offer things that are just, you don't see anywhere else because people, you know, they want to make more money. They want to grow if they're really passionate about it.
Yeah,
if they're really professionals versus the hobbyists that are the majority of Airbnb experience providers, right?
On the flip side, though, honestly, there are quite a number of operators that are very shy about getting into the distribution space. And Airbnb to them has been kind of a safe port in the storm because number one, they only have to pay out 20% commission. So they like that. And secondly, to them, it's just an easier way of getting into the space without committing their inventory to a big OTA that wants, you know, 25 to 30%. So a lot of them really do like Airbnb, and Airbnb has produced business for some of these operators. So I will go back to my original statement that I really do hope that they figure it out and get back on the bus. And I think you're right, Bruce. I think it's an important piece of the experiences space, and that it's a good thing for them to be in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all hope that they figure it out. And they're pretty smart people. They've been able to figure out a lot of stuff over the years. So I think they will figure it out. From talking to operators, one thing you said, Lori, there are the people, I mean, I talked to some people that said, we wouldn't be in business if it wasn't for Airbnb experiences. And those are the smaller guys and women who have created businesses that really are probably a little bit more on the hobbyist side. You know, maybe they only offer business, you know, tours a few days a week. You can't really do that if you're trying to play with the OTAs. So they brought up people to actually get into this business. And then, like you said, well, some of those people want to become bigger business. So there is that. Here's another story. I spoke with Brian Kane. He's the founder of Crawl New Orleans. And then he went over to Nashville. So he's also Crawl Nashville, and he just opened Crawl Austin. He looks at Airbnb as a really, really interesting distribution channel for him, even though he's listed on all the OTAs. He does lots of direct business. Is he one of your partners, Rachel? Because you said you're pretty big in New Orleans. I don't know if you work with Crawl New Orleans.
I don't know that we do.
Okay. If you don't, and you're looking for land-based still in New Orleans, you should look up Brian. He said the client from Airbnb is very different. They tend to go younger, more on the millennial side, and they find him there where they wouldn't find him in any other channel. So he looks at this as a different channel for him. He also says it's a pain in the ass. You know, he's got like someone there just to take Airbnb reservations to put them into his ResTech. So he literally has to have someone manually input Airbnb experience bookings into his ResTech, which obviously is a pain in the ass. He also looks at, I said, so what's going on now? He's not listed in Austin yet. He's very active in Nashville and New Orleans. He can't list in Austin now because of this new announcement. And that's super frustrating for him. But it doesn't mean he's not happy with Airbnb today. He's frustrated about Austin, but he does want that business and he thinks it's important, even though he sells across probably 10 other OTAs. Because he's a real business, built a real business.
That's a really good point. You get lost in the, in the fray when you're dealing with major OTAs sometime, especially if you are a smaller operator. And with Airbnb, because of the limited amount of inventory they have, that's just such a good point. Really makes a lot of sense.
Well, one thing we haven't really touched on yet is, on the customer side, the nature of the activity that they're looking to do will, have an impact on the types of questions they have, how much interaction might be required with that customer to book or to find the right experience. And so I think that's going to have to come into play too. What are we selling and how much is the customer going to have to be educated about this and how much can they take on in terms of, like we have a call center that's manned 7 days a week. The nature of water sports activities is that people have a lot of questions about a boat they're going to rent or a jet ski, or, can grandma get on the boat? Is there a ramp? All these things that we deal with constantly to make sure that people are, in the right place. And so how much does Airbnb want to be involved in that? How's that managed? How much data on all of their experiences do they really want to keep so that they can answer customer questions if the customer even has the ability to, reach out to them in the future?
Yeah, there's no communication there with Airbnb
Right.
for the experiences. And not only that, I'll give up the mic in a minute. There's the same kind of communication that we get when we book an Airbnb for lodging, right? You can put in a message and it will get to the experience provider and they can message back. You know what they can't do? If I'm booked to go on your experience on Tuesday and I want to change it to Wednesday, can't do that without Airbnb coming in and making that change and with the experience provider. I can't just send a message to the experience provider, can we change from Tuesday to Wednesday? Doesn't work, at least formally. Maybe it could be a message back, sure, just show up on noon on Tuesday, but it can't change the booking. And I heard some frustrations over that. And again, some of the changes that experiences needs to make to kind of bring their business back.
Yeah, that's the kind of tool that's not that difficult, right? But it's important, and they didn't invest in that, I guess, and it just causes frustration. But I want to move to another story. What's the name of that virtual company that disbanded this week, Bruce?
Heygo?
Heygo, that's it. Yeah. So they raised a bunch of money, and I don't remember ever seeing
$20 million Series A, not that long ago.
Yeah, and they closed the doors and gave whatever was left. I don't think they said how much, but they gave money back to the investors. I don't remember seeing that from any company, but that's not the point. I actually signed up. I was going to be a tour guide, but I just never got around to doing a tour. I thought it'd be fun, but they were doing virtual tours. So you'd post a product I was watching a bunch of stuff in Oaxaca, and you said, I'm going to do an afternoon walking tour of Oaxaca. Join me at 2 p.m. And then people from around the world joined and watched the tour guide walk around the city. I thought the product was great. I get that it was a COVID popular product, but they closed their doors. What do you guys think?
Well, I think that they saw a lot of interest during COVID because they were really kind of going direct to the consumer. And when I look at some of these other companies like, Beyonder, Wowzitude, they really have a strong B2B play. So they're not really relying on the B2C to keep them afloat. Like Beyonder is doing, senior groups, corporate groups, schools, nonprofits. So they're relying on people they know that are going to benefit from having virtual tours available to them. You can imagine schools totally makes sense to me, senior centers, things like that. Same thing with Wowzitude. The idea behind Wowzitude is that they essentially have these virtual tours available to groups within senior centers and like assisted living centers, et cetera. Makes a lot of sense to me. These people are interested in learning and seeing new things, but maybe for various reasons they can't get around. Beyonder, it's an accessibility issues. A lot of people may not be able to get out and about, and so that makes a lot of sense to me, that B2B play. I think the B2C thing, it's tough because there's a lot of things available online now, a lot of things. I mean, I did Heygo for some yoga classes, but I can get yoga classes in almost any other way online.
Was there a goat in that yoga class?
Oh no goats.
No
There were
goats.
bunny rabbits, but no goats. Anyway, I get what happened here, and I actually, they saw their business going down, and they didn't have either the will or the ideas to bring it back again, and decided they were going to give up the ship before they ran out of capital, which, hey, I commend them for giving the money back, and not, sinking the ship any further. But anyway, that's my take on it.
I think you have to wonder too, something that's kind of happened right in the last year or so is you've seen the crypto market and the NFT market and this whole space that was really into this idea of the metaverse and virtual experiences kind of, now I'm not saying it's going away, but it's definitely taken a little bit of a turn. There's not the same, I don't think, type of hype that there was. I think there's some, limitations on the technology of, Oculus and different things like that. And I'm not super familiar with this company, but if you were building something to, put into the metaverse with that in mind, I could see, some holdbacks, right, for the last, with what we've seen in the last year, and people becoming a little, I think, more leery of that concept in general. Like I say, I think it'll come back around, but right now, I don't know, we're at a weird time.
I think, what's interesting, this all happened. Go ahead.
Sorry, Bruce. Of all the metaverse products, this was the best one. This is the one that should have survived, I think, Bruce.
Well, and they're not done. Like Beyonder's not done, and we could talk about how it might be a little different. And Experience.This.Travel also is doing really well still on their online tours. This was all created out of COVID, right? We had 2 years. What the heck are we going to do? Let's do virtual tours. What did that mean? My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is Heygo wanted to go with on-demand online tours. I don't like the word virtual, online, on-demand. It scales. You create a tour, it's done, it scales, you can do a lot with it. I believe that is their model. And I believe Beyonder's model is online with a guide. So you're actually taking a tour somewhere you want to go, and there is a live guide during this. I know when we did some online tours, we being my family during COVID, there was the on-demand, hit a button, let's watch it. I could go watch National Geographic TV for that. And then when there was a guide involved that was in real time that we could ask questions to, it became a lot more interesting if the guide was interesting. So I think there's still a model for that. And that gets to Beyonder's potential for success and the fact that they're doing B2B and, bring that guide right in. But I think the idea of just on demand, you're competing with Netflix, by the way, at that point, and National Geographic and Discovery and all that stuff. And is there a model for that? I'm a little more skeptical.
And it's a massive chicken and egg thing, right? So I think, during COVID, they probably were busy. The ones I did were busy. There were probably 10, 20 people on each tour. But if you show up as a tour guide to walk around and no one shows up, you're not going to show up next time. And those network effects go in reverse really fast. And I don't know how you pick that up again. I think that, my guess is they sat through that and they were building up steam. And then they went through a rough few months and no one's showing up for the tours and the tour guides disappeared and those network effects in reverse. I don't know how you turn that around. The groups would have been the right way to do that, I think, Laurie, but maybe they just went into the
Yeah.
B2B side of it. That does sound like a great product though, the whole B2B side. The schools, that sounds great.
Yeah, I think so.
I think senior centers would be awesome, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I have a stepmother in a senior center and she loves to travel. She loved to travel. She just can't at this point. You know, she's never going to get to Machu Picchu, right? Well, could she see Machu Picchu with a guide taking a tour into the destination? Absolutely.
Now, what really needs to happen is we need to get the headsets, right? That's what they need, the headsets. That's going to put them right in Machu Picchu. That's the next step.
So that's
you
the metaverse that Rachel's talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, that's can't be too far away.
That's not, no, that's not far away.
Right.
Bruce, you're a sales guy. Can you sell Oculus headsets into the senior home down the street? Ultimate test of a
They
salesperson.
give me a headache.
Another profession for Bruce after.
So I think we need a different kind of headset for that. That might be hard. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Do we have any other key news to wrap up here?
I wanted to do like a 1 hour session on GPT if we have time for that.
What's newsworthy about?
Let's just plug it in and let it do the session.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we'll discuss it. The recent stuff that came out with the plugins, right? So now you can do a plugin. There's an Expedia one and a kayak one, but let's save that for next time. There's always stuff to discuss on that.
Yeah. Good.
All right. If there's nothing else for today, we're going to do a wrap. We'll make it a short show, and we'll back next time.
Well, before you do that, let's just finalize with this. I want to go around in a circle. I'll go Rachel, Lori, Christian. One sentence or two max. Is Airbnb, what are they going to come back with after this slowdown? Are they going to go down, like kind of continue to take it down? Are they going to blow it back up? Are they going to connect? Like, what is your best forecast of where Airbnb experiences goes once they reopen, quote unquote? Rachel?
I think it will probably be with partnerships through other distributors.
Through distributors. Okay, interesting. Lori?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they're going to connect. They're going to discover a partnership, come up with something. Maybe it'll be somewhat of a curated experience, but I believe that that's what they're going to do as well. But they're going to come back.
Christian?
Yeah, I'd agree they're going to come back. I would think hopefully slightly more mainstream products, curated, yes, but it's more mainstream than just the goat and the rabbit stuff. I think direct. I think they'll go direct, but who knows? What do you think, Bruce?
I think they have to connect with ResTech more than other distributors to get to that next level, to scale. I mean, they're not building a business not to scale. They're Airbnb, they're public. They can't continue having a hobby business. You know, as much as Brian Chesky loves the experiences business, it can't be his hobby, right? He's a very smart CEO of a very successful public company. So I think they have to connect to ResTech. That's my forecast.
All right, we'll do another show when we find out, and we'll discuss their next strategy, and we'll rip it apart as well.
All right.
All right, thanks everyone for joining. Great to see you all, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.